The volatile oils are anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial, and chewing it is really good for just like maybe a protective and a way to treat respiratory conditions or throat colds or infection or contagion.
Hello and welcome to the Herbs with Rosalee podcast, a show exploring how herbs heal as medicine, as food, and through nature connection. I'm your host, Rosalee de la Forêt. I created this YouTube channel to share trusted herbal wisdom so that you can get the best results when relying on herbs for your health. I love offering up practical knowledge to help you dive deeper into the world of medicinal plants and seasonal living. Each episode of the Herbs with Rosalee podcast is shared on YouTube as well as your favorite podcast app. Transcripts and recipes for each episode can be found at herbswithrosaleepodcast.com or through the link in the video description. Also in the video description, you'll find other helpful resources. For example, to get my best herbal tips, as well as fun bonuses, be sure to sign up for my weekly herbal newsletter. Okay, grab your cup of tea and let's dive in. Whether or not you've heard of Calamus root, I know you're going to love this episode with Jim McDonald. In his usual fashion, Jim not only shares some of his extensive personal experience of working with this plant, but he also shares many other stories and bits of wisdom about being an herbalist and working with herbs. This is Jim's second appearance on the show. He has another popular episode on plantain, so definitely check that out if you haven't already. I also want to give you a heads up that I have a new ending to the podcast, which not only gives you a gold star for listening, but also rewards you with a little herbal tidbit. So for anyone wanting extra credit, this is my nudge to encourage you to stay until the end. For those of you who don't know Jim, he's a personal friend of mine and one of my favorite herbalists to learn from. His teachings are incredibly influential in my own life, and I'm thrilled to have him back on the show. In 1994, Jim McDonald's life changed when he drank tea from a wild plant he harvested from the land he lived upon. Since those first sips of strange tea, his life in the woods and meadows of southeast Michigan has been centered on the plants and ecosystems of that land and how he might share their virtues to restore wellness with those around him. Jim's approach to herbcraft is deeply rooted in the land he lives upon and blends traditional European folk influences with 19th century eclectic and physiomedical vitalism, which he conveys with story, experience, humor, common sense, and lore to students, clients, random passers-by, and readers of his websites at herbcraft.org and herbcraft.podia.com. He's taught classes throughout North America, is one of the organizers of the Great Lakes Herb Fair, and is currently alternately writing Foundational Herbcraft and a Great Lakes Herbal, in addition to articles for journals and other publications. Jim is a community herbalist, a manic wildcrafter, and medicine maker, and has been an ardent student of the most learned teachers of herbcraft, the plants themselves. Well, Jim, welcome to the show again.
Hey, welcome back. I mean, you should say that to me.
Welcome back.
I like doing that. It's like people say, like sometimes they say like happy birthday, and you say, you too. And then you wait a moment while they think about it. It just makes interaction fun.
Well, welcome back. Such a pleasure. I haven't had a lot of people back on the show for another time. I know that I will continue to have you back over and over again because you're an okay herbalist and you're my good friend. So
that's a good way to phrase it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Well, I feel like that too. I have not yet had my fill of you where I'm like, I don't want to talk to her again.
Oh, I'm glad that it's reciprocal then, that we're both still into this. Phew.
Right. It works. I mean, what now? The next time, like if it's a really long time, people will be like, oh, they must have got sick of each other.
Yeah, now we have to keep up appearances. All right, we'll just
see how I scored more spots. Clever. That out.
Very clever. Very clever. Well, for those of you who haven't heard Jim's previous episode on plantain, I highly recommend listening to that after you listen to this one. And in there, Jim tells his origin story And I thought instead of repeating the origin story, which I assume is more or less the same depending on whatever embellishments you have decided on in
It could be.
the past year, I thought it'd be fun to do another question. And that question is, what is your calamus origin story? We're just going to jump right into the herb.
I have a good Calamus origin story. So when last we left our hero on the last episode, I got into herbalism. I found some books. I started reading about plants, and one of the things that I did right away that really shaped the way that I learned is I didn't start learning about plants and then go and buy capsules and of things. Is I was just like I wanted to find the herb. I was living outside of East Lansing in a town called Okemos, and there was a food co-op with a bulk herb section. They had some things, they had the normal Frontier and Star West Botanicals, bulk herbs, mostly Frontier, I think. But I found out about this amazing shop in Detroit. It's still around. It's called Nature's Products, and it's run by a guy named Gary Wantaja, who I think that's the way you say his last name, but I don't think I've ever said it out loud to him to be corrected or confirmed. But Gary at Nature's Products in the very north part of Detroit, I went to his shop and it was like 300-gallon jars or more just full of bulk herbs. And he had like a few supplements and a few tinctures and a few bottles of that. But that's the kind of herb shop he has is just a bunch of bulk herbs and a lot of Chinese herbs, a lot of Western herbs. Still one of the few places that I could go and like look for pellitory of the wall, right?
Wow.
Yeah, right. That kind of place. And I would just go in there and I'd look at the jars, and I didn't know what some things were, and I recognized what some things were, and I saw Calamus written, on a handwritten label, and I was like, oh, I'll take an ounce of that. And he gets the jar and he puts it in the bag on the triple beam scale, and I leave there and I know a few things about it. I know it's a digestive system herb, right? But I don't really know that much about it. And my girlfriend then, wife now, Stephanie, was with me, and I was going with her to Wayne State University where she had class. And the particular building she had class in has these rooms down, and each one is kind of themed. So there's like Middle Eastern architecture style room where the style of the way it's done, and there was like the medieval room with like stained glass and cool stuff. And I look how prepared I am. I have my Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. If you haven't read this, I mean, obviously everyone has read Lord of the Rings, right? And then they might want to find out more, some context, and read the Silmarillion. But I was reading the Silmarillion, and I was like chewing on some calamus because I had, read that was a traditional way to use it. So I was like taking little bits of the cut and sifted herb and chewing on them. And I was reading, and then I would like look up, and I was like, something's different. Like something feels like different. I think the calamus is like I feel something different since I started chewing the calamus. But as soon as I tried to like put my finger on it and figure out what it was, I was like, no, I can't really tell. And I go back to reading, and then I stop again, and I kind of like look around and maybe look, but also not look, like feel out like what feels different. And I couldn't get something. And then one time I was, a little bit, after I'd done this a few times, I was reading and I was like, something is totally different. And rather than like look up and try and figure it out, I just sort of like kept reading, and I was like, wait a minute, like I'm reading the words about the Valar on the paper. These things the Valar did, recalling in their twilight the darkness of the lands of Arda. But I realized that like I'm also like able to see in my peripheral vision, even though I'm looking at the page, like the stained glass and like the little bookshelves that were there, which is, not normal. And I was like, oh, wow, it's really affecting my perception, and more things are in focus. And focus is a quality that Calamus is often, stated to have. But I think sometimes we think about focus as like, I can focus in on, that one thing. And this was more of a very broad depth of field sort of focus. And partially because of that experience and, more experiences sort of like walking out in the woods and chewing on little bits of the root, actually technically the rhizome, I just got this, I started to get this sense of the plant And because this was very early in my learning about herbs, one of the things that I sort of realized later is I didn't just learn about calamus from chewing on it and feeling like, how did I feel before and how did I feel after? But I also learned a way about learning about plants, which is like, I've read all this stuff in books, but what do I feel in my body? Like, what is the visceral perception of this? And that a lot of times, like, there were things about calamus and afterwards things about all these other plants that I learned more from actually ingesting them and consuming them and smelling them and feeling them and touching them than I did from reading stuff. And it's not that reading stuff is bad, but when you read stuff, it kind of like primes you to think about something a certain way. And oftentimes you would discover different things that are just as true and just as real. And I would meet other people who were into calamus, and they would say stuff that was the same as I'd never seen written down anywhere, but that I had come to from walking around and chewing on calamus, right? And I think that as you meet people who use the herbs that you use, you'll often find like some people who really know an herb well will have common experiences with it because it's just a part of the plant, but it might not be something that everyone read in the same book. It's not like that one quote from Greaves' Modern Herbal that everyone knows. It's stuff you get from interacting with it.
I love that story because I can see how that has played a role in your herbal path ever since. And what just a powerful lesson that is, because it is so easy to just stay within a book and just to read and kind of learn passively. But in that way, Calamus was almost teaching you, like taking your hand and being like, here's another way to learn about plants.
Yeah, and like I said, it changed not only the way I learned about calamus, but the way I started learning about all the different herbs. Like it's become, if I'm learning about an herb, it's, of course I read about it. Why wouldn't I do that? But I'm also like trying to consume it in all kinds of different ways. And that's not just, taking tinctures or making teas, but like chewing on it, smelling, doing steam inhalation. I've done steam inhalations with weird stuff that is like, why would you do a steam inhalation of all? I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like it's not aromatic. Well, somehow it still did something that was unique, that was different than just inhaling steamy water. So yeah, something's coming up with the steam. And it's adventurous, right? It's exciting. It's like, oh, you're really engaging the inquisitiveness that is behind learning. And I think that you can approach learning like, I want to learn something so I know stuff, or I want to learn something because I'm inquisitive and I wonder stuff. And that's sort of like, that's my biggest desire in learning, is I want to learn because I'm curious. I want to learn because it's just fun to learn stuff that I didn't know before or never thought before.
That is truly so you, because when you call and we chat, I can't ever think of like, it's rare that you're like, oh, I learned this fact. You often have wonderings to share. Like, oh, I'm wondering about that. Even your personal Facebook page, I think, is so interactive and interesting. And you get so many people commenting and sharing there because you're often sharing wonders. You aren't sharing like, oh, here I have these facts that I have memorized, which you can now memorize too. But you're opening up this curiosity and wonderment, which allows for all of us to participate and just to kind of see really cool things that people in all sorts of places are thinking about.
Yeah, I saw something on one of my old students, pages of their website for some classes, and it was a little quote. I don't remember who it was by, but it said something about like a good teacher teaches you how to look and not what to see. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like that. Like I should figure out who said that so I can use that. Because I think that is, it's a good way to do it. I think that sometimes, we come into learning, and actually, I would say we're taught to learn in a certain way, which is interesting. We are taught to learn in a certain way, which is to like, you learn information and then you know information that is correct. And what correct information is, if you just like, if I think back over the last, 5 decades, what was right 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15, 20, 25, it's not still right anymore. Social concepts, scientific concepts, physiology, there's a whole bunch of facts that they don't like truth is not necessarily factual, right? Truth is contextual, and it has to do with what happens. And a U.S. history book is not more true than the Silmarillion.
So we've heard how you found Calamus in the bulk herb store. Do you remember finding Calamus out in the earth for the first time?
I do. It took a really long time. And it mainly took a really long time because although it does grow in my area, it's not really common. And the plant is just like, it looks like a grass that grows in wet areas. And there's a lot of grasses that grow in wet areas, right? There's irises and cattails and blue flags and yellow flags and tons of sedges that are more of the yellow-green color that it is. And so there was a lot of things that I would be like, oh, I think I found it. And the leaves are very aromatic. They have a very particular scent to them. And I would break a leaf and smell it and be like, oh, no. And I did that over and over and over again. And then I kind of was like, oh, I'm just not going to find it. And then I was like, oh, I think that, I'll try that one. I wasn't really expecting much, and I broke it. And it was like, oh, this is totally it. And so that was really super cool and exciting. But even today around here, just like in the county that I live, I maybe know like 3 places that it grows. And all those 3 places are the non-native Acorus calamus and not the native either Acorus americanus or Acorus calamus variety americanus, depending on where you look it up and when the entry is from. I know that the native species does grow in Michigan, and I've seen it in Michigan, but it doesn't seem to, I at least haven't found it around here yet. I do remember one time I was at the botanical sanctuary, the United Plant Savers Botanical Sanctuary, and I went to an event there, and afterwards we went to Paul Strauss's land, and he's got like a swimming pond, and like way over on the other side of the lake, I was like, oh, I think that's Calamus. And I swam in a straight line to it, and I sat with it, and then I in the muck, and then I swam back, and Paul looked at me, and he was like, he didn't know me. No one really knew who I was back then. And he's like, how did you do that? And I was like, do what? He's like, that's the only place there's Calamus, and you like beelined right towards it and came back, and I know you've never been here before. And I was like, oh, it's the right shade of green, like, And I lucked out. It could have been a sedge. I could have swam out there, and it could have been sedges, and it wouldn't have been as cool. It wouldn't have been a good story, right? If I didn't get it right, but I lucked out. So now it's around. I also grow a lot of it. It grows really easily from cutting. So actually, the ground here is frozen, and even my planters are frozen. But I poured some hot water in the planter, and I pulled up this little rhizome here with its little shoot. I know that's not in like perfect focus. Let's put it over my hair, so it's got a dark background. And basically what I can do is, put it in a planter with a bunch of kind of mucky dirt and keep it wet, and it grows and it spreads, and then I can harvest some. And actually this piece, if you could see better, there's a bigger piece of root here, and then the smaller piece of root is growing out because I harvested the end of this, and then a new piece just grew out. So as long as I keep taking the ends, it just keeps growing more root. And then I can keep myself stocked with little slices of root that I can chew on, because that's the main way that I use this plant. I almost got decoction. I don't ever really want to do a decoction again. I could do a cold infusion. That would be like kind of all right. I've never made a tincture of it. I used to say I never had a tincture, but I just found when I was cleaning out all of my stuff, I found this old Herbs of Light Calamus tincture. It says it on the label, it says 1992, but that was before I got into herbs. So I'm going to say like maybe this is from 94 when I was first getting stuff, but it's still mostly full, and I haven't used it. And when I open it up, it doesn't really it doesn't smell like Calamus anymore. So there's that. But I mean, essentially, like, of all the ways that I have used it, I like chewing on the root. And the way that I would do that is real simple. Sometimes people don't get this when they talk about chewing on plants. They think about like chewing on bubble gum, but I'll grab like a piece of root, a little slice there. Then I'll stick it in my mouth, up in my cheek, and I'll let it sit there. And as the my saliva softens the root, I'll give it a couple kind of squeezes with my teeth, and then I'll just kind of let it sit there. And my saliva tastes like calamus, and every time I swallow, and it's infusing in through the mucous membranes of my mouth. And what's cool about chewing on plants is a way to use them, which is interesting because when you look at books on herbal preparations, they rarely, if ever, mention chewing on plants. Like, it's just entirely left out. Is I have this root in my mouth for, like, let's say a piece of size might last an hour or more, right? And still taste like calamus. For that entire hour, it just keeps infusing into my saliva and going into my bloodstream through my cheeks. And then every time I swallow, my calamus-infused saliva goes down the back of my throat and into my stomach. And what other preparation can do that? If you drink tea, you're not going to drink your tea continue. Like, I'm not have a straw and go like for an hour long, and a syrup will maybe like linger a little bit longer on your mucous membranes than tea will, but that doesn't last a long time. If I made a candied calamus, and you can do that, that wouldn't last an hour. So this is just a great way to use it. It's my favorite way to use calamus in terms of like preparations. Why? This is pretty much the only way that I use it. It's not like if someone came, the other preparation of calamus that somebody gave me that was really nice, and I used it until it was gone, is Sage Apopum makes a spagyric tincture of calamus. And I got one from him, and it was really wonderful. And I used it, and I passed around in classes, and everyone loved it. And it was gone. And even though it was wonderful, I like chewing on the root. That's my relationship with it. So that's what I keep doing.
It's actually one of my first memories of you is, I want to say we were sitting on a bus at IHS, like doing a little like teacher excursion thing. And I remember you chewing. I think that's where it was. But I remember it's one of my first memories of you chewing on calamus root.
Yeah, a lot of my friends will be like, I remember meeting you. You gave me that awful tasting root to chew.
Makes it a memorable experience. I don't remember you sharing, for whatever it's worth. I just remember.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so, but it's okay.
Here,
our friendship survived.
Here, take a nibble. By the way, this part is the rhizome, and these are the actual roots that are dangling down. Rhizomes are underground stems.
Would you call them rootlets?
I do, but they're roots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I still say I still, because they're cute little babies.
Yeah, yeah.
I still say calamus root, like a lot of people do, about a lot of rhizomes, and I'm sure that botanists everywhere, Seven Song hears it and winces a little bit, maybe, but he just remembers it quietly and holds it against me.
So we've talked about chewing on calamus root and opening the doors of perception for you. What are other reasons people might want to work with calamus root?
If you go back into Western herbalism, which is largely what I'm into, really what they have to say about calamus is pretty boring. It's that it's an aromatic bitter. I mean, that's not boring, but it's limited is maybe what I'm looking for. It's an aromatic bitter. You can use it as a carminative for cramps or gassiness. You can think about using it for sluggish digestion. One of the things that it seems to be good for is helping with reflux and issues around stomach acid. I have read, and God, as I'm saying this, I'm worrying that it's in my handout too, probably. I've read and heard and probably said myself, because I learned it, that calamus seems to like adjust your stomach acid to what it needs to be. I don't know. That's kind of a nebulous statement, right? I've phased out some of those statements. It's not that I disagree with it or I think it's wrong. It's just like I don't know that saying that is really clear, right? But it does seem to help with a lot of reflux issues or a lot of issues where acid is getting into places that it should not be, right? So sometimes people think reflux just means, heartburn, that acid from your stomach is getting up into your esophagus and causing irritation. That must mean you have too much acid, but it can mean you have too much acid or too little acid. Really what it means that say this is your stomach here and this is your esophagus, and you're supposed to have this lower esophageal sphincter that closes tight and it keeps the acid in here and not up in your esophagus. And if this is like cracked or off kilter, it doesn't matter whether your stomach acid is high or low. When you lay down at night, it's going to spill out. And I think that there's not a lot, but a little bit of astringency to Calamus. It's not a prominent thing where, like, as I'm chewing it, I'm like, oh, my mouth is so tight from the astringency. But bitters also have this sort of like tonifying action to tissue, specifically in the digestive tract. And maybe it's because bitters stimulate peristalsis, and peristalsis basically exercises the tissues, and so you're getting increased muscle tone more than like increased mucosal tone like you associate with astringents. And bitters also have this downward action that gets stuff moving like down as opposed to up, and so it seems to be good for reflux. And that from Western herbalism is a lot of what we get. The volatile oils are anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial, and chewing it is really good for just like maybe a protective and a way to treat respiratory conditions or throat colds or infection or contagion. I will sometimes, if I know I'm going into a situation where people around me appear to be sick, like grocery stores or other places, we'll just chew on some Calamus. If I have a consult coming up and I know that people are sick, I might be chewing on Calamus. There's other herbs I could be chewing on, but Calamus might be one of the herbs I can chew on, basically thinking like, oh, I may as well just like have this in my mouth, because my mouth is a port of entry into my body, and I'm going to be talking and inhaling, and that's kind of protective. So that's something that comes from Western tradition, and there's studies that show it's antimicrobial. When you get into other traditions in Chinese medicine, which I'm not an expert on, but they would talk about it as sort of like dispersing phlegm, right? And I remember one time going into a different herb shop near Detroit, north of Detroit. It was a Chinese herb shop. And I wanted to compare and contrast the Calamus that they use in their system of medicine with the Acorus Calamus that I was getting locally. And I think theirs is Acorus gramineus, if that's the right pronunciation. It's a smaller species, it's smaller rhizomes, but used similarly. And the woman who was there was asking me if I knew the Chinese name, which I totally did not. But I was like, it's that one. She's like, how did you know that? And I'm like, because it's not all chopped up. I can just tell by looking at it. And then she was really interested, and she's like, well, what are you using this for? Like, you clearly don't know anything about Chinese medicine. Mm-hmm. I'm like it's good for like my thinking and my perception. And she kind of like looked at me, and I think she said, and this is my memory talking, I think she said something like, we use it to disperse phlegm. And I was like, brain phlegm. It's good for dispersing my brain phlegm. And aromatic plants in general, a lot of aromatic plants are good for like when your thinking is kind of like congested and sluggish and cloudy, right? Which is why you always see words like clarifying or, essential oil bottles. It's just a nature of essential oils, but it's really good for Calamus. It's stimulating and relaxing, more in the stimulating direction. And so like if you're feeling kind of like tired and unclear and your thought is all muddy and cloudy, it's helpful with that. You can chew it like that. You could, a lot of people use the tincture like that. They'll take small doses of the tincture to sort of like have a clarifying thing. I know that Seven Song says that like if he's looking around the class and he sees people like zoning out, he'll pass around some Calamus tincture. It helps people to sort of like tune back in. So that's another virtue that it has. And in Ayurvedic medicine, like Chinese medicine, I am by no means like super knowledgeable about Ayurvedic medicine, but their name for it is Vacha, V-A-C-H-A, which is always the way that I thought you pronounced it. But then I had a student named Elena Vacha, and then she told me, no, it's Vaka. And ever since then, I've been wondering whether it's Vaka in Ayurvedic medicine, and I just haven't asked anyone who would know. You can ask KP, right? You could maybe text him right while we're talking and then see if he responds before we're done. Whichever it is, that means to speak. And there's a tradition in Ayurvedic medicine that also carries over into a lot of indigenous communities, especially North American native communities, that you would use this to help to sort of like sustain your voice. So in a lot of at least this region of the United States where I live, the different tribes will use it when they're singing a lot to sustain their voice. In Ayurvedic, that's also true, but I think that we can carry that understanding of it too, and we can think about its ability to affect your perception and say what I think is that Calamus helps us connect our voice with our truth. Calamus can be helpful for like, I've had some people that were going through therapy and they really felt stuck in their therapy. They felt stuck, right? So there's congestion, there's stuckness, and aromatic plants are moving and bitters are moving. I like the way that all that ties in. They got to a point where there's like, oh, there's something that I need to say, but I don't want to say it because if I say it, it makes things real, right? And that seems just really hard and overwhelming to me. And so they feel stuck. And I would say, like, take some calamus with you and, try chewing on some calamus, and they would be able to say that thing and get it out and create movement. Movement, not just physiologically, but like movement emotionally and movement cognitively or spiritually or mentally, where there wasn't something before. There was some kind of blockage, and this facilitated movement. You can think about it as helping sort of like people be able to speak and express their truth. I don't know whether I said it or someone else said it, but it helps to like connect your heart to your voice, I think, is something that fits well for it. And one of the ways that I'll use it just personally for myself, going back to the way I started learning about it, is if I feel stuck about something in my life, I just might be like, I need to go out for a walk. I might need to take some calamus with me, and the whole walk just be sort of like chewing on calamus and considering my life, pondering my life, wondering about my life, and then, see what I come back with when I'm done walking around, And sometimes I might have an insight, and other times I might just feel like a little bit less stuck without having a big aha, this is what I need to do, right? I think that it's easy sometimes to think like, oh, plants are going to give you a lesson. It's going to be this concise saying or phrase or statement, and you're going to be like, oh, there's the thing, and now I know.
I love the calamus walk. I just want to go on a calamus walk. So it's been nice chatting with you. Thanks.
Bye.
But I really do though. So that sounds like a fun, insightful, and I like it's a tradition of yours. It's like it's one of your a technique you have for pondering your life.
Yeah, and maybe that can get us into two different things. One is someone's going to read at some point in time that, like, wait a minute, the calamus isn't that carcinogenic? And you have to use.
Oh man, I was going to ask that question, Jim.
Oh really?
I wanted to say, but Jim, don't you know?
Do you have any questions?
I do. I'm going to ask that question right now. Yeah, you preempted it, but now we're just rewind, pretend you didn't say that. And what I wanted to say was, but Jim, can't calamus kill you? Isn't it toxic?
So I have thoughts about this.
Oh, surprise.
This particular calamus is Acorus calamus. It is the European or Asian species that is introduced to this world, this continent, and has spread around, and it's a non-native plant. And this particular plant has a family of compounds in it called acerones. And some of those acerones are beta acerones. And if you take this plant and you extract the essential oil from it, and then you take the essential oil and you extract acerones from it, and then you take the acerones and you extract beta acerone from it, and then you purify the beta acerone, and you either inject it into little rodents with a needle, or you feed them large quantities of pure beta acerone, they will get sick, they will get tumors, and they can die.
So not recommended. I feel like we should be clear.
Right.
Not recommended.
Don't take your calamus and then take the essential oil and take the acerones out and then purify the beta acerones and eat massive quantities of it. Just, probably you can't do that. I know that someone out there is like, I'm a pretty good chemist, I could probably do that. But that might not be a good idea. And I also don't know why you would do that. I would also say, don't just like take the essential oil internally. That can cause major digestive distress. Like you'll be vomiting for hours. I've heard. People will also hear, and actually this particular bottle, this Herbs of Light bottle, says that it has, it's extracted from the rhizome of the diploid, acerone-free American variety, Acorus calamus variety americanus. And so the written down story is like, well, calamus is safe if you use the native American species because it doesn't have beta acerone. And I feel pretty strongly like they're all totally safe. In India, where the strain, I think it was like the Jamu, Jamu strain that they did the testing on that showed that it was carcinogenic, it's just a revered herb as a tonic herb, as a rasayana, as something you would use for longevity, right? And they're using the whole plant, they're like, they weren't clueless. And this is not to say sometimes that there isn't a tradition of using something that turns out to have, some safety issues. We have maybe that with pyrrolizidine alkaloids or other constituents in plants, but the quantities of actual plant material you would have to ingest for the beta acerone to even remotely be an issue are undoable. Like, I can chew a lot of calamus and I can't get to those levels. The native species of Calamus, which actually, because Acorus is the genus name and Calamus is the species name, if we say that the native species is Acorus americanus, then it's actually not Calamus, but the native species of Acorus, or the native species of sweet flag, or the native species of weekay or muskrat root, or whatever name you use for it, doesn't have beta acerones. And it's maybe when I've tasted it like a little bit hotter, like the flavor is a little bit sharper. They have overlapping qualities. I've used them both. I don't think one is quote unquote better than the other or more effective than the other. And I will use both depending on what I have. I grow both of them. I like both of them, but I don't worry about any of them because I'm chewing it and I just like the beta acerone is not an issue. One of the things about the beta acerone is that beta acerone can be extracted and from the essential oil, and it can be used as starting material to make a hallucinogenic compound called TMA2. That's something that this guy named Alexander Shulgin did. Alexander Shulgin, like his hobby, his profession, his passion in life was to make psychoactive compounds that never existed before. And so you might also read in books that calamus is very hallucinogenic, or that it's like LSD, or like psilocybin or mescaline, or that your body can make a chemical called TMA2 out of it. Your body can make a chemical called TMA2 out of it if your body is in a laboratory with a bunch of equipment, but your physiology cannot make TMA2 out of it. I do think that calamus is psychoactive, right? But I think that everything is kind of psychoactive. Like, I think that anytime we consume anything, it interacts with our bodies and it affects our perception. Some things very subtly, some things more overtly. I mean, obviously there's a range between like eating rice and drinking coffee and taking psilocybin mushrooms in large doses. There's a spectrum, right? And I don't think that hallucinogenic is really quite the right word to use for calamus, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, I read in a book that I need to get like an 8-inch piece of rhizome like that, chew up the whole thing, and then it'll be like LSD. And most people probably are not going to chew up the whole 8 inches because it's got an intense flavor and it would take a long time. And although it will affect your perception and change your perception, it doesn't, you're not going to be seeing little like geometric patterns of the walls aren't going to be breathing. It's just different. It has its own quality and it doesn't need to be the same. It's more subtle. And a lot of people who try that, then they're disappointed because it wasn't this other thing. And they don't appreciate what it is. They don't appreciate the going out for a walk and chewing on calamus for your whole walk and getting that sort of like perception and insight instead of like just openness, like it facilitates this sort of like openness where you can see a whole, like almost like I said about your visual perception, where like more things are in focus, you have a greater, like a broader depth of field. It does that with your thinking too. You can consider sort of like more options and get more insights, and then not be like, a lot of times we try to figure out problems in our life by focusing on like the one thing, rather than taking the step back and looking at the big picture. And this is take a step back and look at the big picture and just like take it in and not be having to like take it in and fix it all at one time.
Again, I love that. So thanks for being here. And I need to go find my calamus root and go on a walk. I actually do have some more questions for you though. So
okay.
You mentioned the different, mainly 2 different species that people might encounter here in North America. And I was wondering if you had any identification tips of telling those apart?
So they look pretty similar. And the key differences that I've seen in plants that I've grown that I know to be the different species is that Acorus calamus tends to be a little bit taller, like maybe a foot-ish taller, 6 inches to a foot taller, and the leaves tend to be a little bit wider. I've read botanical descriptions that say the Acorus americanus has multiple midribs, whereas the Acorus calamus has the one main midrib. And when I've looked at that, I've not really seen that. What I have seen is that there is a wavy margin, so like a ripple, kind of like a washerboard effect, when you look at the edge of the leaf, that is present in the Acorus calamus and doesn't appear to be present or present commonly in the Acorus americanus. The absolute best, like, oh my gosh, how come it took so long for someone to do this? Picture of both of them, where there's like a picture of one next to another, is in Sam Thayer's book, Nature's Garden.
Mm-hmm.
So Sam Thayer has written 3 wonderful books on edible plants. One is A Forager's Harvest, one is Nature's Garden, one is Incredible Wild Edibles, and he's currently in the midst of just being about to publish a much larger field guide with shorter entries on the plant. But in the Nature's Garden book, he has side-by-side pictures of both of them, and it's really just incredibly helpful. So that's sort of the thing that I would look for. The flowering spike, so there's like a leaf that sticks up, and there's essentially the right angle. The spike just sticks out of the leaf like that. You know, there's a spike sticking out.
This is great.
Say it, don't say it. Say it, don't say it. Say it, don't say it. Are you going to ask me about the doctrine of signatures? The spike, the flowering spike of the Acorus ammanus is a little bit shorter and a little bit thicker than the spike of the Acorus calamus, which is a little bit longer and a little bit thinner. If you hadn't seen both, like if you didn't have plants growing next to each other, that might be harder to tell, but I've got plants and planters growing next to each other, and I've consistently seen that as they flowered over the years. The Acorus americanus sets out fertile seed, and the Acorus calamus does not appear to set out fertile seed, at least largely. So it's mainly propagated by root divisions and sort of like cloning itself. You know, a piece of the root gets eaten or carried off by a beaver somewhere, and then it goes off down the river and hits a patch of dirt and then starts growing. It's really easy to cultivate. I could stick in most places that aren't super dry, that have a mucky kind of dirt. I could take this root and I could stick it in the mucky kind of dirt, and provided some kind of like river dwelling or pond dwelling mammal doesn't go like, oh, I love that, and eat the whole thing. It will just grow into new plants and then spread and have an extensive rhizomatic system that you can break off and harvest from. But it's really easy to grow if you've got a planter that you can either keep wet or that doesn't drain at all, and you keep it muddy and wet and stick this in the wet mud, or even in just water. It'll grow for a long time just being underwater. So it's an easy thing to cultivate. You can get plant starts from a bunch of different nurseries. I know that Richo at Strictly Medicinal sells cuttings, but what I would suggest is if you have a native plant nursery or nurseries in your state, try to get whatever your native variety of that is and plant that out. If you plant it out in the wild, again, you have to watch out for water edge dwelling mammals because they really like to eat it. You might plant it, might just be gone the next day. But if you can kind of like get it established, and what I often do is I plant it in planters by my house, and then I take cuttings from the planter, and then I can move the native species at least out to different places to try to reestablish it. And then if it gets eaten, I can just try again.
I think the planter is a great tip for your personal growing.
Mm-hmm.
I live in a very dry environment, and I have it growing in like a little indentation area that just naturally collects more water. But I'm looking forward to putting some in a planter this year.
I think that you can also, from specialty nurseries, you can get the Acorus gramineus, which is the Chinese variety that is used. And sometimes that will be variegated, other times it won't be. But I had some of that for a while, but then I don't know. That one didn't survive a dry spell 1 year. I think not because it can't survive dry spells, because Calamus is pretty good at doing that, but I think that it was too young and it was in too small a pot, and it wasn't just established enough to tolerate it.
Was there anything else that you'd like to share about Calamus?
Oh, Calamus. Good things about Calamus. I know in a bunch of different places in this country, and you could be watching from many other places, right? But there are places where consuming cannabis is legal. There are other places where it's not. People do it anyway. And there's all things to be said about cannabis and whether it's like the greatest thing ever and fixes everything. That's probably not true. Whether it's a cool plant with a lot of utility, whether it's a cool plant with a lot of utility that's getting kind of weird because it's so strained out and they don't grow it in soil anymore, right? But one of the things that can happen when people consume a lot of cannabis and certain strains of cannabis is they can have that kind of like cloudy, foggy thinking. And if you have that effect, you can clear that up to a degree by chewing on calamus. I've met people who have also chopped really finely bits of calamus and mixed it in with their cannabis when they're smoking it to sort of like clear it up. And I've met people who were like longtime smokers who decided that they wanted to quit, and then they used calamus, chewed on it. Some people use tinctures. One person I know was like, but it's a root, I'm going to make a decoction. I was like, have fun with that, because I like the way this tastes, but not a decoction of it. And it can be helpful for helping with that sort of like sluggish thinking that can come from being overstoned or over altered. What else?
You talked about it, but when you were in the Chinese shop, I like how you just said like it clears the phlegm in my brain, and just that idea of sluggish thinking. I think there's so many applications that calamus could be chewed on to see how that goes.
Another thing about it is if you look at the ethnobotany of the way the plant was used in this country, there are parallels. So I'm not saying the two plants are similar. They're not pharmacologically similar, but there are parallels with the way that this plant was used and the way that coca leaf was used in South America, in that you can find plantings of calamus, or what are wild populations of calamus that are remnants of plantings that were done along trade routes, because calamus does have a sort of energizing, stimulating effect. And if you were walking from like Michigan to Minnesota, right, along some trail, you're probably going to get tired along the way. And then if you have some calamus with you, or if there's calamus planted along the way, you can stop, you can gather some calamus and you can chew on it and like get an extra like oomph, right? And I've used that when I've been out backpacking. I've used that on long car trips, like I'm driving. After one time I taught a class for Althea Northridge Orr, who's incredible, in Chicago. And then I had dinner at our mutual friend Anne's house. My friend Cote was there, and everything was wonderful. And Chicago is like, 5-ish hours away from where I live. And I was like, I should get going. And then I lingered, and then I lingered, and I lingered. I'm like, I should get going. And I lingered. And then it was like after 11 o'clock before I left. And then I had to drive home. And somewhere in southern western Michigan, I was just pretty tired. And I didn't want to like stop and sleep in my car. And, I'm not averse to that, but I didn't want to. And so I pulled over at a gas station and I walked around a little bit just to sort of like, that's just a good strategy anyway. And then I got some calamus and I chewed on some calamus.
You went into the gas station, they had a jar of calamus on the counter, and you're like, I'll take an ounce.
It's the one thing that they don't have next to like the ginseng and royal jelly vials that they have at gas station counters, right? I've got like the no-dos and the ginseng and royal jelly vials and all of the energy drinks that aren't energy drinks. They don't give you energy. But calamus is stimulating and invigorating like that. So it is something you could use if you're into mountain biking, you're into backpacking, if you're doing any kind of long travel, and you just need something to like give you some pep and sustain you. It can be helpful in doing that.
I do feel like I want to be everybody's mom right now and be like, and please drive safely, folks.
Yes. Right.
Jim can be the fun one. I'm going to be the...
If you need to, this is where we also need to say it's not so psychoactive that if you chew on a little disc like I have, that you're going to be driving and be like, whoa! I mean, that's probably not going to happen. Unlikely.
Unlikely.
Pharmacologically unlikely.
Pharmacologically unlikely. Thank you for that. You've been working with Calamus for a couple of years now.
A couple
yes. Decades. And I know you have an extensive writings on Calamus on your website. So in the show notes at herbswithrosalee.podcast.com, I'm going to put a link to that. So if people are like, hey, give me more Calamus. I can't get enough of Jim, can't get enough of Calamus. Totally get it. You can find more of Jim and more of Calamus there with a handy dandy link.
My Calamus page is probably like the most popular page on my website. And maybe I'm going to preemptively say, I do not sell Calamus. So if you want a bunch of Calamus, actually it's pretty hard to get chopped up in little discs like that, or to get whole roots. Mostly it's cut and sifted, and you can chew on cut and sifted root, but it's it's nicer to have a bigger piece. I like having, like if I had a piece like this, I could just like gnaw on the end of it. And you can, it can be fresh too. Oh, it's just yummy. Now I've got the fresh and the dried intermingling.
Oh, that's an interesting formula. Same plant, different preparations.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jim, what have you got going on herbally these days? What are you excited about?
Let's see. I have several different things. I will have in Michigan a whole bunch of walks, all through the winter, spring, summer, and fall. So if you want to come out in the woods or fields with me, or swamps or wetlands, or wild places or semi-wild places, or just neglected places, we can go and look at plants and talk about them. That's always fun. I have both an in-person and an online version of my Lindera course, which is my herbal intensive course, where we really focus on a way of thinking that we call energetics. Going back to what we talked about earlier, although this course is filled with information, the purpose of the course is less about like learning, like if you learn 90+% of the information, you did a really good job and you got an A. It's more about learning a way to think about plants that helps us use them more effectively for ourselves and for others. And that could be like, if you're wanting to be a clinical herbalist, it's helpful. And if you're wanting to be a family herbalist, if it's helpful, you're just wanting to use herb for yourself, it's helpful. I always call it foundational herbcraft. It's like everything builds on our understanding of using herbs with these patterns of energetics in mind. And energetics isn't like the woo-woo stuff about plants, unless you don't believe in any of this, then it's all woo. But it's about looking at patterns of hot and cold, which we can say like more active and less active, dryness and dampness, and tension and laxity, and how they intermingle to affect the way that we have the different patterns and conditions and illnesses and problems, and the way that we experience life together, and to support our body to actually go through their own natural processes more efficiently by keeping our constitution balanced. If you want to learn about that, my course is really good. There's also a pretty good book called The Alchemy of... Who's that by?
Mm-hmm. Are you thinking
Alchemy of Herbs?
Alchemy of Herbs. Oh,
yeah, you could probably Google the author, but it also touches on this topic. And
I would offer that the reason why my first book does touch on that is herbal energetics is how I think of herbalism. I don't really think of the like, take this for that. It's not that it never works, but it's limiting. But also you have had a profound influence on my own herbal path, and learning from you it was just so much fun. It brings the herbs to life. Like you said, it's the wonderings, it's the magic of wonderment rather than just the memorization of facts. So I just want to give homage to you as having a big influence on the way I look at herbs. And also another thing I deeply appreciate about you is your playfulness And
I'm
it's just
playful.
always, you are playful, and it's just always fun to be in your presence. I've also taken some of your online courses from a distance, and those are also playful and fun and always insightful.
Yeah, we tried to carry the playful over, right? There's pool noodles make frequent appearances in the classes.
Your props are always top notch for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they could be all different. The pool noodle can be so many different things in the body. They could be ureters, they could be blood vessels, they could be your digestive tract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like the polycrest herb. That's the polycrest prop. Love it.
It is. It is.
Polycrest meaning something that does many things. So, and I love that Lindera is now available online too, because it used to be like, this very like you needed. Well, people would come from all over, but you are Michigan based, and people would come from Michigan and nearby states. But the online aspect of it really does open it all up, so that we all get to learn from your.
Yeah, people came to the course from Colorado. People came from Texas. People did come from faraway places. But it's pretty hard. Like if you live in like Lebanon,
Washington,
or if you live in like New Zealand, right? Or Vietnam, it's harder. Like not impossible, but it is harder.
Yeah,
It's less
fair.
practical.
Yeah. Well, thank you for opening that up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Jim, to draw this to a conclusion, because I am wanting to get out with the Calamus Root to go on a walk, I do have one last question, and it's the same question I'm asking everybody in season 7. And that is, what advice do you have for folks who are just starting out on their herbal path or their continuing path?
I have many different pieces of advice, but I'm going to choose this one right now. Don't feel like it's a competition, right? Don't feel like, oh my gosh, there's all of this stuff and I need to learn it all as fast as possible. Otherwise, like somehow you're being left behind and other people are like learning better than you. I think that again, we were taught to learn in certain ways, and I think that we were taught to learn that learning is a competition, and the faster you learn something, the better you've learned it. But that's not true. I've learned a lot from other people. I've never like completed anyone's like structured course of training. So in a lot of ways, even though I've learned from other people, I'm self-taught. And there's a whole bunch of things that it took me a long time to learn. And there's a whole bunch of things that I'm still learning or other people know better than I do. And sometimes students or clients ask me questions and I think like, oh, wow, that seems like something I should know, but I don't really know it. And there's this amazing thing you can do is you can say, that's just like, that's not something that I know well or have a lot of experience with. And then you can take the extra step and maybe if you do, you can say like, but I know someone who knows that thing really well. And when you do that, it's empowering and it's not like a fault and it's not, you're not good enough. You know other things and other people know things you don't know. And learning shouldn't be competitive and learning shouldn't be like a race where you feel pressured. I think that sometimes, not all the time, some people learn a lot of stuff really fast and retain it really well. But a lot of times when people try to learn a whole bunch of stuff all at once, they don't retain it well, or they retain sort of like the facts and the information without maybe the context and the understanding. So if you've ever given yourself a hard time for like not picking up something fast enough, there's no reason to do that. Just think about all the stuff that you have learned and think like, I've got my whole life to just keep learning more and more and more. And I feel so confident in saying, if you talk to anyone in any kind of field who's really knowledgeable about that field, they will tell you, unless they're arrogant, there are those, they will tell you like, oh, wow, there's still so much I don't know, or, oh, wow, like this other person knows like so much more and I'm completely blown away by them. So yeah, don't rush, don't give yourself a hard time. Just like be in a state of like, don't just wonder, but be in a state of wonder and, just enjoy all the stuff that we get to learn, especially about plants because they're so fun and beautiful.
I love how that ties back into Calamus as well. And just because I can picture you continually learning from Calamus, even in your plant wanderings, and continuing to just learn more about what Calamus has to show you along the way, and opening up its perceptions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about herbalism, is that there is so many layers of learning there. And something that I really appreciate about your teachings consistently is the experience of the plants themselves, and really thinking about it. So it's not just memorizing facts, but wondering how much deeper we can go through wonderings and also experience.
Yeah, wouldn't it be weird if I thought like the degree to which I knew you was like based on how much I knew about you?
Yeah,
That would be
weird.
that would be a strange way to relate with
If
someone.
I was a series of facts, you'd be like, well,
Yeah.
she likes Tori. She
Oh
lives
yeah,
with
I know more
cats.
facts about Rosalee than you do.
Oh, funny enough, Tori fans are often like that, but that is another story. So, well, Jim, thank you so much for being here again. And I really appreciate you taking time to share about Calamus and about herbal teachings and about the wonderments of life. And I hope that you'll make it back to the show again one day.
Well, I would love to do that. I think I assured that by my introduction earlier in the show. It's always wonderful to talk to you, and it's always wonderful to talk to all of you there. Hi, Jen. I'm just going to say that because there's always going to be someone named Jen. It's like, wow. Like, I love your blue rug.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye.
Thanks for being here. Don't forget to head over to the show notes at herbswithrosaleepodcast.com to get handy links for the resources we discussed in this episode, including more information about Jim's intensive herbal energetics course, Lindera, which is available both in person and online. At the show notes, you'll also be able to sign up for my weekly newsletter, which is the best way to stay in touch with me, as well as get the full transcript. You can also visit Jim directly at herbcraft.podia.com. If you want more herbal episodes to come your way, then one of the best ways to support this podcast is by subscribing on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. I deeply believe that this world needs more herbalists and plant-centered folks, and I'm so glad that you're here as part of this herbal community. Also, a big round of thanks to the people all over the world who make this podcast happen week to week. Nicole Paul is the project manager who oversees the whole operation, from guest outreach to writing show notes to actually uploading each episode, and so many other things I don't even know. She really holds this whole thing together. Francesca is our fabulous video and audio editor. She not only makes listening more pleasant, she also adds beauty to the YouTube videos with plant images and video overlays. Tatiana Rusikova is the botanical illustrator who creates gorgeous plant and recipe illustrations for us. I love them. I know that you do too. Christy edits the recipe cards, and then Jenny creates them as well as the thumbnail images for YouTube. Michelle is the tech wizard behind the scenes, and Karen is our student services coordinator and customer support. For those of you who like to read along, Jennifer is who creates the transcripts each week. Xavier, my handsome French husband, is the cameraman and website IT guy. It takes an herbal village to make it all happen, including you. Thank you so much for your support through your comments, your reviews, your ratings. I read every review that comes in because they're like a little herbal love letter that brightens my day. Like this one. Thank you, Rosalee. This is such a wonderful creation and amazing addition to the world for all of the herbalist and curious seekers out there. I've learned so much from listening, and I love your approach to interviewing. What a treat to get to hear some of my favorite herbalists speak about some of my favorite plants. Every episode gets to the heart of herbalism in a unique way. Do you love this podcast? If you leave a review for me on Apple Podcasts, I may be reading your herbal love letter on the show next. Okay, you've lasted to the very end of the show, which means you get a gold star and this herbal tidbit. Your tidbit this week is a story I'm not super proud of, but it definitely shows the fortitude of Calamus. Many years ago, I'll say 15 or so, a friend gifted me a Calamus rhizome, And in this moment of indecision, I put it in a plastic bag and then I put it in the bottom of my fridge where it stayed for months. Again, not super proud of this. By the time I found it lurking behind some vegetables, it was mushy and very moldy. I was so bummed because I'd just been careless and thoughtless and I just wasted this gift of a plant. So I decided to bury it in my garden, kind of just gifting it back to the land as compost. Well, that following spring, I noticed these strange leaves. I just didn't recognize them. They were just strange leaves peeking out of the ground. I almost weeded them. All my thoughts of the calamus root had been totally forgotten. I watched as the leaves began to grow taller and taller, and when I realized what it was, I just could not even believe that this moldy, mushy rhizome that had just somehow survived for months in a plastic bag in my fridge had actually come back to life. And I've been growing from that same calamus rhizome ever since.